Good morning, everyone. Welcome to PWR Today. This is not who you are used to hearing on your Monday morning. This is Matthew Thomas coming to you alongside Linda Kay. The man they call Meathead is undergoing his pre-operation procedures right now as we speak. So we are running the show. Linda, how are you doing?
I am doing tremendous after a spectacular wrestling weekend in the Milwaukee area. But Mott's, Meathead, we're thinking of you. Everything's all good. We'll hear from
We
you
are
soon.
We are, and we don't have it for you this morning, but we are going to work on getting you the listeners. We know you're very concerned. We are going to work on getting you the man they call Meathead's personal home address. So if
Oh,
you would
yeah.
like to send flowers or a card directly to his home, or just stop by and actually see for yourself how he's doing, because you can take our word for it, but you might want to see for yourself exactly how the man's doing. So we should have his own personal address coming to you here in the next couple of days. So it sounds like it was a really busy weekend for you, Linda, with Crusher Fest. But before we get into that, um, if I had to take a wild guess, if I had to take a stab in the dark of what you were wearing at Crusher Fest, I would imagine perhaps a collar and elbow piece of clothing or two.
Absolutely. We saw lots of collar and elbow apparel at Crusher Fest this past weekend. But if you want to be sported and spotted in collar and elbow apparel as well, make sure to go to collarandelbowbrand.com. Check out the latest and greatest in wrestling, street fashions, and of course, to save a little extra cash, to save you that 10% off, make sure to use promo code LindaK. It's LINDAKAY to save a little extra cash on your order.
And I was happy to see when I was over there last week at the Collar and Elbow store, and by store I mean the website, not the physical store, but the website, that they do have some long sleeve options, and it's starting to get a little chilly here, so that's
Mm-hmm.
a good thing. It's a good thing that you can be comfortable, and stay warm too this season with your different collar and elbow options. But give us a rundown of this weekend, Crusher Fest. Medusa, Eric Bischoff. What in the world was going on out there?
Well, it was the second annual Crusher Fest held in South Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home of the Crusher. As many of our listeners may know, there is a bronze Crusher statue in South Milwaukee, and it kicked off this past Friday with GLCW's Tales from the Ring, a little bit of storytelling. We had a tremendous AWA Legends panel. So we had our girl friend DN, our friend Damien from the Big D, come in to moderate that, and our special guests were Eric Bischoff, Medusa, the High Flyers, and Kenny Sod Buster J. We had a great crowd at a facility, the Bucyrus Club in South Milwaukee. We had a lot of fan interaction. I got to take some questions from the audience while DN moderated, and we heard some great storytelling. For example, the whole belt and the trash story, we've heard different variations of it, perhaps online, perhaps on video, but to see it in person and told by the Eric Bischoff and the Medusa, um, you can't write that on paper. It was absolutely tremendous. So that's what kicked off Crusher Fest. And then Saturday, it was a huge day of wrestling. Downtown South Milwaukee, right near the Crusher statue. There was a wrestling tent. Okay, there was music, there was
Mm-hmm.
food, fans everywhere, and then a wrestling tent where I got to, happily announce two shows that took place under the tent. It kicked off with Catch as Catch Can wrestling series that took place, showing some catch pro wrestling to predominantly pro wrestling crowd. Everybody there was there to celebrate wrestling, celebrate the Crusher, and got to put on an awesome demonstration of some shoot wrestling. So that was awesome to see. I helped differentiate the shoot from the pro wrestling a little bit by announcing it in like an MMA intro style, a Bruce Buffer style, if you will. And might I add, I was gleefully happy to have done my impersonation of Bruce Buffer when it came to our main event by saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, It's time. That's just a little tease of that. So then it led into, Dave Hero's GLCW show. A lot of the local guys, huge pops, just because the hot South Milwaukee crowd, very familiar with our talents on this show. And, we had our former senior intern, Cal Hero, the fanny pack kid, with his partner, Justin Jackson. The fanny pack party was in the house. We had some other representatives from GLCW, MIAW, OVW, and I was happy to get to announce the show itself, as well as announcing Eric Bischoff and Medusa into the ring to share some words with the hot South Milwaukee crowd as well.
Fantastic. Now, my question, we had Damian moderating the event. Has he been texified as of yet? Is he wearing a cowboy hat? Were there any spurs present?
Ooh, no, there was not, but his button down did have some plaid designs.
That's how it starts. Yeah, that's how it starts. It's not a big 180-degree turn. Like, it starts to kind of seep in, and yeah, the next thing you'll know, he'll be buying all of his clothes in the basement of the Alamo.
Oh, wow.
Well, fantastic. Glad to hear it was such a eventful weekend for you. And it was also an eventful weekend on Smackdown and also on AEW Rampage. Smackdown would see the start of the King of the Ring tournament. So some tournament wrestling coming back to SmackDown, and there were actually 4 tournament matches on SmackDown this past Friday night. My overall feel of the show was, I think it was one of the better SmackDowns I've seen in quite some time. We've kind of got a tale of two companies in AEW where wins and losses matter. They keep track of your wins and loss record. WWE, not their MO, but they are trying to bring some stakes back into their product, and kicking off the King of the Ring and also the Queen's Crown tournament. In the men's side on the King of the Ring, we saw Sami Zayn defeating Dominic Mysterio, and Finn Balor actually going over Cesaro. And 2 really solid matches. Linda, your thoughts on the return of the King of the Ring tournament and also the inaugural Queen's Crown tournament?
Yeah, I mentioned this to Meathead last week as well, that King of the Ring holds a special spot for me.
That's right. That's right.
My first, holds a special spot in my heart. I said that wrong. Excuse me. Holds a special spot in my heart, just because my first ever live WWE event, and live just any sporting, like, huge arena type, event, was King of the Ring in '96 at the historic Mecca Arena. Well, it's not the Mecca anymore, but in Milwaukee. It was when Austin 316 was born. So I've always loved the King of the Ring tournament. Tremendous champions in the past. I love that they're bringing this back, and it was great to see it kick off with Sami Zayn actually defeating Rey Mysterio. It was Dominic who didn't mean to interfere, but he kind of did. So we saw some tension once again between father and son, which we were led to see that, and then they got drafted, and you thought maybe okay, it'll be back in good terms, but it looks like they're going to continue that dissension between father and son there. But it was great to see that kickoff King of the Ring, and we also saw Finn Balor winning. So looks like it's going to be Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. I believe that's next week, right? We're pretty much running through this. There's only 3 matches.
Yeah, and we're gonna get the finale at Crown Jewel, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, and then the inaugural Queen's Crown tournament. I think that is absolutely tremendous. Bringing in the ladies to have some type of royalty, some type of stakes, to put themselves on a higher pedestal, and just to be called queen as well. Not just Charlotte. Okay, we're talking about the Queen's Crown here, and we saw Selena Vega coming off with that win, as well as Carmella. So yeah, that should be exciting for next week as well.
Absolutely. And, like I said, glad to see these matches actually mean something in the title picture on the SmackDown side. With the women's title, we did kick off the show with a contract signing between Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Belair. So we got that. A pretty standard issue contract signing to start the show. We had a little bit of physicality there towards the end. Your thoughts, Linda, on this match and kind of what they're doing with the title picture in the women's division over on SmackDown?
I mean, I think it's great that they're utilizing all the top female talents right now. Kind of pretty much in both shows just because of this draft, and it's a unique way to kind of still make this make sense and make it work given the draft taking place, talents, switching over brands, but it's taking place after Crown Jewel and not right away, but it kind of is, as they're already on each other's shows. So a little bit of confusion there, but it kind of makes it as if there wasn't two separate shows, I guess. So kind of cool to kind of have that feel. However, I thought it was unique to kick it off that way. We're going to see who will still be champion after Crown Jewel, but I do like how they had all three ladies out there, and in a unique way. It wasn't a normal contract signing. We had Becky at her own desk outside the ring. Sasha was on the commentator's desk, and then we had Bianca in ring. But I will say that it got me a bit more excited seeing her hoisting both ladies up, and through the table. Pretty hot start to SmackDown in the season premiere there.
Yeah, let me ask you this. Do you think the Becky heel turn, presenting her upon her return as a heel, do you think it's working?
I think so. I think we need to bring back Bex in a different light. You're still going to have, the huge fan base for her, but she just does this cocky, arrogant character so well. And it's another way to see this other side of her. The flashy outfits, the witty talk. I like it. I think it's great also because I also am a big Bianca Belair fan, and you got to put that dastardly heel against that hot baby face.
In a lot of ways, this is what brought Becky Lynch to the dance. I mean, it was really the man character, her as a little bit of kind of a heel that really got her over to that super level. So, anybody comes back, they're going to get that pop initially. There's going to be people who want to cheer them. But I think this was the right move, and it was the Becky character, with the edge, and glad to see them kind of, continuing that. And that's going to segue me into the final segment, which featured Edge, not the Edge from U2, but Edge from WWE.
I heard you mention Edge, and I almost piped in saying, but I let it go.
Well, thank you. No, it was definitely done intentionally. Edge, he had a visit paid to his home last week, and I was actually really impressed with the fall decor that Edge and Beth had at their home in Asheville there. A really beautiful home, by the way. So, I'd like to give credit where credit's due to, their decoration and everything. I really like the way their home was laid out, but their fridge is probably a little bit lighter after Seth's visit last week. However, we did get Edge showed up at the arena, and looks like we've got a new added stipulation to their match foreseeably at Crown Jewel. I believe it's pretty much determined that's where it's going to happen, a Hell in a Cell match. And I will tell you, as CEO and owner and just all-around manager of Team Nelson Mandela, I'm a little bit upset that I dropped Edge this early, because it looks like it's going to be a Hell in a Cell match between these two at Crown Jewel.
And some extra points and specialty match that would have been. But, there's still some time for some shakeups within our own PWR, oh my gosh, PWR Today draft. So maybe Edge might end up back on Team Nelson Mandela. Edge might wind up on Team Longtime. Edge might even end up on the team they call Meatheads. Who knows?
That's true. Well, and here's the thing too, as it pertains to PWR, the draft, Meathead's going to be under some anesthesia and probably not necessarily in his right mind here for a couple of days. So I think that he needs to appoint someone, to manage his team, because here's the deal. Like, if news breaks of somebody being injured or something where he would need to act and make a very impromptu decision, I think, someone needs to have that ability to perhaps, drop an Adam Page or, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But hey, especially that home invasion last week where, it's funny you mentioned that the fridge might be a little bit lighter, but that's also because remember, Edge told Beth he didn't care that she had a car full of groceries. He already called Dan and Dave and for her not to go home. So just wanted to, add into how the fridge is a little more emptier than it was at the start of that evening. That being said, I am digging Edge and Seth once again. I mean, he came in hot, Edge, and got a little piece of, or showing everybody just a little bit of what he plans to do to Seth Rollins come Crown Jewel. Every match they've had has been stellar, and adding more fuel to the fire. The visionary Seth Rollins, I'm really digging this as well. It's funny that both him and Becky are now sporting some new flashy attire, both sporting some extra cockiness, some extra arrogance, as I mentioned before. So I think that works out great. But anyways, back to Edge and Seth. I'm excited for this one, and we haven't gotten Edge and Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell, so definitely looking forward to this one as well.
So here's exactly how I would book it, to have some long-term storytelling payoff. You have Edge, you have him, mount some offense, look really good. And just as he's about to kind of hit that next gear, he starts having some stomach issues, and he recovers from that and he goes back. And what you find out after Edge cannot continue due to some stomach issues, it's the spoiled milk. The groceries sat out too long due to Beth keeping them out because Seth was in there. Seth's plan works the whole time, and Edge loses because that stuff went bad.
Yes,
yes,
he was able to bring in an open container of milk on that plane to Saudi Arabia as well, and lo and behold, Seth Rollins, what a sneaky guy, planned working from day one.
Wait a minute, maybe I didn't think this too well, because that container of milk is over 2 ounces or whatever TSA allowed. Well, I guess he could technically check 3. Okay, I guess he could technically check his milk, but all right, maybe there's some plot holes there, but it's the thought that counts.
Well, you can bring in as many different 3-ounce containers as long as it fits in a quart-sized bag.
So Edge disperses a gallon of milk into various 3-ounce containers. Yeah,
right.
That's well, hey, that's a math problem for you listeners at home. If you want to tell us, write in and tell us how many 3-ounce containers Edge would need to split up his gallon of whole milk to bring to Saudi Arabia. Just feel free to tweet us, or also too, when we give you Meathead's home physical address here in the next few days, you can just write him a letter and let him know.
Send him some whole milk with a box of chocolates.
Well, moving on to AEW Rampage on Friday night, we had another loaded show. What's so crazy, Linda, is we just ran over Smackdown, which is a 2-hour show. And I believe, unless there was a non-tournament match that I'm missing, there were 4 wrestling matches. And then AEW Rampage, which is a 1-hour show, we had 4 wrestling matches over there as well, too. So Rampage chock full of wrestling. It opened up like we were kind of talking about. We thought it was going to open up with a Punk match because, as you know, this Rampage is filmed after Dynamite, and you need something to kind of bring that crowd back up going into that third hour. So we had CM Punk wrestling Daniel Garcia, and I didn't time it with a stopwatch, but I imagine a 12-minute or so match to start the show. Not a surprise to many people. Punk going over Daniel Garcia, and we would ultimately get another Punk match announced for next Friday. And oh my goodness, Matt Sydal, I believe it's Matt Sydal he's going up against, if I'm not mistaken. And I tell you, Rampage is really turning into the CM Punk show. We're getting Punk wrestling on that show almost on a weekly basis now.
Yeah, that's great to see, and I'm sure the fans love that as well. That was a longer match to kick off Rampage, but I enjoyed it. I liked how they also have Mark Henry doing the intro that we normally see for the main event. We're getting that to kick off the show as well, so that was was cool to see. But obviously we figured Punk would get that win, which was just make him stronger going to next week. I like that we're getting this weekly Punk action, not just him on the mic, but we're getting to see him,
Yep.
show us what we've missed about him these past 7 years. And, that's his in-ring action, just the crowd feeling it. I'm happy to see that. And with him having these huge matches on the pay-per-views, because when he came back, it sounded like he was kind of alluding to being there for mainly just the pay-per-views, if I'm not mistaken. But we're getting him here on a weekly basis. So that's a pleasant surprise for many of us who are happy to see him back.
No, 100%. And he's working with young talent, on a weekly basis. And this run reminds me a lot of what Cena was doing back a handful of years ago with the United States Open. Yeah. And you just got to think at one point, I think that it's going to be, you're kind of going to get used to seeing these matches. And I think at one point, one of these young guys is going to kind of out of nowhere beat Punk. I don't know how far down the road that is, but I think that it's definitely set up to make somebody. So I look really forward to kind of seeing, where they go with this. But yeah, Punk again to open the show on Rampage this past Friday night. We also got the Lucha Brothers going over the Acclaim. We had Jade Cargill in action, defeating Sky Blue in a very short match. It's interesting because Meathead and I speculated last week that we think that the TBS title might actually be made for her. My only concern, though, is, this put her at 17-0, I believe. And outside of that triple threat match she was in, Jade Cargill has not had a lot of long matches. And so I'm very curious, as we go into the tournament and as we kind of throw that name out there as the potential first, title holder, is she going to get to that point there where these matches stretch out from a minute and a half, 2 minutes to your 5, 6, 7, 10-minute matches? When, will we get that? Now, we did have Thunder Rosa enter the picture, so I'm very curious if these two, meet up. Thunder Rosa, a very seasoned wrestler, maybe Thunder Rosa is going to be that person to, get Jade Cargill to that lengthy one-on-one match.
I would hope so. I would love to see that. I know we got a tease of that in that triple threat match, but I think when it comes down to the wire, however they structure out the TBS title, it'll be Thunder Rosa and Jade Cargill. I hope so. And I think Thunder Rosa will just help elevate Cargill into, if this title will indeed be hers, which it's sort of looking like it'll be that way. But I would like to see some more hard-hitting matches for her. The longest match, I mean, I know there was that triple threat match here, but I think was her debut one, but obviously that was with Shaq and involved. But I think it's still great though to see them putting her out, show how strong and how dominating she is. But I think it's time to kind of give her a little more lengthier matches, show more of the competition that she will have to get through to get that inaugural title.
Most definitely. In our main event, we had Ricky Starks defeating Brian Cage after quite a bit of interference from Hobbs and Hook. And he goes over, gets the win. I mean, Cage looked good. It was good to see Cage back in action. It seems like it's been a little bit of a hiatus there with Cage, but overall a solid main event and another solid presentation from AEW this past week on Rampage.
Yeah, the way to end the night. That Philadelphia street fight definitely got me tuned in. Anytime there's a insert city here street fight, I'm in. I was hoping to have seen some jeans on though. Like you're gonna make it a true street fight. You got to wear the denim.
Absolutely.
However, obviously I figured the rest of Team Taz would come in to interfere as they could for this match, and I saw that belt flying over to Ricky Starks. I'm like, oh, how did Cage not see that? And I thought that was going to be the finish in the end, and it wasn't, which was good because I feel like he saw that title going there. But all in all, obviously, we have Team Taz on top still with Ricky Starks getting the win and holding on to that FTW title, but it's definitely not over. There's going to be something more here between Brian Cage and the rest of Team Taz.
And an insert city here street fight could use some more specific stuff from the city. Like I wouldn't mind seeing somebody get hit with a Philly cheesesteak, or you, yeah, and I don't want any animals harmed, but maybe bring a live eagle in. Maybe introduce a live eagle into the building. If you could have Stark or Cage maybe kind of get trained on how to handle an eagle. And, I know they're falcon gloves. Maybe there's like a eagle glove or something too, where he can train this eagle to attack his opponent. That'd have been a nice touch. But,
right.
Again, I can't have everything that I want. I'm just hoping that my whole Edge milk angle does pan out. Well, we do have Raw coming up tonight. And this is I guess this is technically not the Go Home to Crown Jewel, because that is week after this. So this will be our go home to Crown Jewel. Anything special that you're hoping to see out of Raw tonight, Linda?
Well, I mean, we're going to get that interesting women's tag match with Bianca and Sasha
That's right.
Becky and Charlotte. Yet this past weekend on Smackdown, we had Bianca and Sasha. I mean, of course, they already, are enemies, but now they have to tag as well as Charlotte and Becky. But again, this is just, like we're getting to the finish line here when there's still not full changes taking place from the draft quite yet, but everyone's still under almost one said brand, I guess. But hey, that'll be interesting to see, as well as continued King of the Ring and Queen's Crown action. Looking forward to that as well.
And it's usually a safe bet now that Goldberg's going to threaten murder, most likely to Bobby Lashley. So I don't know if we're going to get any new murder threats, but we probably will at the very least get a recap of that. So I would imagine there's going to be a Goldberg murder threat at some point.
Yeah. Looks like we'll be the ones talking about that as well tomorrow morning.
Absolutely. So join us tomorrow morning for Linda Kay. This is Matthew Thomas, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.